I'm David Drucker. In 1993, at a meeting of the European Association of Schools of Social Work, everybody was excited at the possibility, now that the Soviet Union had broken up and there were newly independent countries in Eastern Europe, that we would be able to go off and show them how to do it and how to train social workers. 30 years earlier, ministers of social welfare from all over the world at the United Nations had said that social work, social welfare, should be part of national social development activities. This meant that social work was broadened from what Titmuss used to call the stretcher bearers of society into the cause to bring about change. I got up and I begged everybody in their excitement not to make the same mistakes that I had made in 20 years earlier when I went to Asia. Regina Koulis, who was in the process of setting up the program in Kaunas of social work, approached me and asked me to come to see if we could do things differently. And I arrived early in March 1994 and came and went until the year 2000. My responsibility was to set up a fieldwork component within the curriculum of the university. This is much easier said than done because universities are not very keen to support such programs properly, either in the West or anywhere else for that matter. I set out knowing very little about Lithuania, but within 2 weeks had visited a whole range of services, from the infants' house to the hospices for the dying, the schools, pensioners and so on, and arranged for field work for the students. We had to find supervisors who were not exactly the sort of social work role models that one would have liked, but that's what existed. So I spelled out in writing what seemed possible for the supervisors to be doing, what the students had to do in the agencies and what they had to report, and what those reports, when they were brought back to the university, would become the subject matter for discussion. Things had to change. Social development meant that there needed to be new kinds of institutions to bring about changes in social policy. One of the institutions and the way of behaving was the universities themselves. Professors stood at podiums to ranks of students listening to what came out of the mouth of the professor. I immediately changed things to sit in a circle and for us to discuss as equals, which is a better model for social workers than the academic one. There were many problems. Information didn't flow in Lithuania. It seemed to be a private property. One didn't hear what was happening in Vilnius and even in Kaunas. Going home each time to Geneva, I learned more about Lithuania and Kaunas than when I was in Kaunas itself. Eventually, the United Nations asked me to join a team to have an overlook at what was required in Lithuania, and I specifically contributed the need to establish an association of social workers and to finance it, and also a citizens' advice bureau, because nobody in the community, and we either, knew really what was going on, and people had nowhere to go to find out what all the new rules and regulations might be and what they could do about it. There's so much more to be said, but there isn't time on a brief video of this kind. But you will have the opportunity, I hope, to speak to me at this meeting in 2012.